We are now. And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Benched with Bubba, episode 118. Going to finish up the positional positions, as they say in fantasy football. Not going defense, not going kicker. I apologize. If you need that help, there's plenty of websites that'll tell you to draft them last. So you can go there for that. We've covered quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers twice. We're going to the tight end position. And in order to do so, I know it's when I first started talking to this gentleman, he was covering tight ends for fake teams, and he covers more than tight ends, but that's one of his main deals at the time, and maybe still will be this year. But you can find him again at Fake Teams, and his name is Heath Caps. Heath, how we doing, man?
I'm doing fine. We said it a minute ago, but I'm 3 hours later than you, but it's not too late. It's only about 9:30. I'm a bit of a night owl, so I'm good. No worries. I'm feeling good.
Perfect. I love it. Let everybody know what you got going on over at Fake Teams and where they can find you on the good old Twitter sphere.
I'm pretty boring, which is what I said to you when you asked me if I would come on. It's like, yeah, if you're that hard up, sure, I'll come on. So the Twitter handle is my name. It's at Heath Caps. Been doing Fake Teams maybe I don't know, maybe about 3 years now. I dig it's a really laid back vibe. I mean, probably whatever I'm feeling, I can write about. So if you check out the Twitter profile, you can see the pinned Mitch Moreland propaganda on the top of my Twitter feed. Anytime I feel like writing about Mitch, I can write about him, and nobody makes fun of me. They may make fun, but they're not making fun now since he's basically played Eric Hosmer to a draw this year. But Mitch and I went to high school together. We played on the same soccer team, so. Anything goofy like that I'm feeling, I can kind of get into, but mainly it's baseball and football. So
awesome.
That's the jam. Baseball, football.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. And he does good stuff. Don't want to tell you he's boring. There was a reason I kept asking Heath on his. If you follow him on Twitter, he's got a lot of really knowledgeable information out there. So and sometimes it just takes getting on a few times, and you never know. So. Let's get into some recent player news that might affect your fantasy teams coming up. Some of it way more so than others. But we'll kick it off with a simple one. OBJ gets paid, and he got paid really well. And some are going to give the narrative of, well, he's got his money, he doesn't care anymore, which could be silly. Some say, he's going to ball out now because he's happy and whatever. How do you look at OBJ in this situation? And then if you want to kind of round it out, there's 5 mouths to feed in New York now.
Yeah, I don't So, we talked a little bit. I'm up here in North Carolina, but my college career was down in Mississippi. I went to Ole Miss. So I was a big Eli fan before I really became an NFL fan. So the Giants when I started doing the NFL thing, they became my de facto team to root for. So with OBJ, with me, it's not insider info, but I do follow the Giants. I feel like there's so much ego involved with a lot of these players, especially wide receivers, that the money thing doesn't really make me scared off of Odell Beckham at all. At that point, when you're talking millions, he's playing for so much more than that. You're continually stacking yourself up against all the other best receivers in the game. I don't think the money thing is a big deal. If anything, it's okay, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Now I'm just going to go out here and do my thing. So
you mentioned you followed them pretty well, and you followed Eli at Ole Miss, and it's kind of a running theme right now. You can get Eli basically on the waiver wire in a lot of drafts right now. But like I said, there's a lot of mouths to feed. You got OBJ, you got Ingram, you got Sterling Shepard, you got Saquon. Everyone's expecting this offense to be so much better than it was. Are you looking at Eli as a possible late round quarterback, or is he still just a good backup?
I think I would never take Eli as my QB1. I think he's still QB2 with upside. It's too many turnovers, and I love Eli, but it's too many turnovers. And I really think that the Giants, if they stay healthy, the defense is what they're going to try to lean on, and they're going to run the mess out of the ball, and they're definitely going to feed Odell. I'm a little skittish when it comes to Evan Ingram and Sterling Shepard meeting ADP. Those guys make me slightly nervous. And I mean, Shep is kind of buried, so he's okay. Ingram definitely kind of worries me a little bit, and we can talk about him in a minute. But I don't. I'm not targeting Eli, I guess is the best way to say it. If he kind of drops and I'm in a bind, or if it's a really big league, like I've got a 16 team hometown league coming up, and it sounds really arrogant, and it's not. But like I spend so much more time on this stuff than most of those people that I feel like my depth of knowledge with drafting is just greater. So I played the stream game last year and got hot with Flacco in the playoffs, and it was disgusting, but so I may wind up with Eli in that league, but it'd have to be a pretty deep one.
There's nothing arrogant. There's nothing arrogant about that. I play in a home league and I finished top 3 like 5 straight years. I won it last year, and we drafted last weekend, and I'm sitting there just kind of. Take me like 30 seconds to make a pick, where some guys would be like 4 or 5 minutes running through papers and stuff, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna do this again this year.
And then at the end, you're drooling. You're like, how did I draft this team?
Pretty much, yeah.
So, and it's just, and I know it's my great time waster when I'm, when there's nothing else going on. It's just, I love reading. I love reading as much as I can. So definitely when I walk into that, I'm feeling pretty confident. So I love the stream game in a league like that. So I'll probably have Eli in the home league.
I love it. I didn't know you went to Ole Miss. My buddies and I usually every year we try to take a football trip somewhere, and I think it was 3 years ago. Went to Ole Miss LSU game. Went to the Grove, and I'm telling you, I know from experience, but my goodness, that is amazing. The only complaint I have about that area is there's nothing open in the morning to go get lubricated if you need to. And we found that out the hard way, and we found a gas station that sold tall boys, and we loaded up on those and walked around the Grove for a bit until all the friendly people started inviting us in to tailgate. It was a blast, absolute blast.
So that whole culture is super
different. It's different. Yeah. It was eye opening, but it was an absolute blast. I highly recommend it to any football fans. It's an awesome atmosphere, and it's weird. You've obviously been to games there. It's for an SEC school, you expect all this big atmosphere, and the tailgate's big, the passion's big, but the stadium's not big. And I kind of like that. It's kind of everyone's on top of each other. I think that's a lot of fun. I love it.
Yeah, and it's actually they expanded it since I was there, but I was there quite a while ago.
Gotcha.
Maybe not. What is it? 2018.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know. It's been a while. It's been undergrad. Maybe was 05. It's been a little
while. Been a little while. Let's talk about another, we could say diva wide receiver, because that's what most wide receivers are, but he's not as diva-y. But Doug Baldwin, a week or so ago, before I did my draft, everyone was saying, oh, he's healing up fine. He's going to be ready for week 1. Well, he decides to tell the media he's not 100%. He'll never be 100%. He's probably going to be 80% all year. When you hear stuff like that, how does that make you react to Doug Baldwin in your drafts?
I bumped him down. I mean, when we at Fake Teams, we've been doing positional weeks, and this week is tight ends all week. Last week, when we were ranking wide receivers, we were talking in our Slack chat, and hey, are we assuming that Baldwin is healthy? And the consensus was yeah. Like at that point, we still were saying, we think he's going to be healthy. And I think I slotted him maybe as a low end number 1, like number 12 or 13. But now like probably high teens for me with Doug Baldwin. And it like my gut reaction to that is like somebody in Seattle is going to explode. And I don't know if it's Brandon Marshall or if Lockett's going to be healthy, or my favorite sleeper, Jaron Brown, is gonna do the Paul Richardson thing this year. But somebody in Seattle is gonna be catching some touchdowns this year. And if you can figure out who it is at the end of your draft, I think it's going to be a nice pick.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, because Wilson's going to do his thing, and he's going to have to run for his life because that defense is not going to be good. So the O-line's going to make him run. He's going to have to put points up. It's going somewhere. We'll talk about tight ends. I've heard a lot of places even mention Nick Van Ed as a long-term sleeper. Like it's that bad in Seattle right now, or you don't know where it's going to go.
And Dixon, the plotter.
Yeah. Dixon. Yeah, he's still fine. He's almost like, excuse my language, he's almost like a herpy. He just keeps showing up in random places and gets a job somewhere. It's crazy. But you look at them, it's interesting. So I like Baldwin if you can get him at the right value. But like you said, where he's going now, it's tricky. But if, say he falls into like the 4th round or something, okay, I can see something there.
I like him in the fourth. The third is I'm kind of cringing. That's probably, and just based on how I'm drafting, like if I can get an early running back, I'm doing that. Round two, I like for wide receivers or Gronkowski. In the third, there's like if Joe Mixon is there, and formerly McCaffrey, but now he's a round two guy.
He's flying up. He went in the first round of my draft. He went 11th overall out of 12 teams the other night. Crazy.
Yep. I'm down. I'm down with it. I know we're talking tight ends, but
no, that's fine. That's just the beauty of bench with Bubba. We can talk about it.
I am drafting the fire out of Christian McCaffrey this year.
Well, that was my thing. Like, we're going to take a sidebar here. So when we do our draft on my home league, we pull names out of a hat and you pick where you want to draft. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick 9th because I'm going to go get Melvin Gordon. I'm going to try to get McCaffrey on the way back. I'm thinking life is good. I get Melvin at 9. I'm sitting there going, okay, plan's working. And then I forgot I had a Stanford fan drafting behind me.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, got shafted. But is what it is. Let's talk about another wide receiver situation that's kind of up in the air, similar to Seattle. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Marquise Lee goes down for the year. And now, everyone's running saying Keelan Cole's the man. He played great when Lee was out last year. And, yeah, he did. He played well. I was a big DD guy last year when he finally got healthy and played. He's going to be in the slot. There's a lot of different options there in Jacksonville. How are you, it's only been a few days now, 4 or 5 days. How are you assessing that situation in Jacksonville? Because, again, we also have to remember Blake Bortles was the quarterback.
Leonard Fournette. And I waited on DD in actually the same hometown league I referenced because it was so deep, and I was hurting at wide receiver. So I picked him up and kept him until he finally worked his way back. And if it's a log jam like that, like normally I'm taking the guy that falls the lowest. And right now I think it would be DD after Cole if I was getting the Jaguars guy. But honestly, like on a team like that, like what they want to do, they want to run it down your throat. So if I'm drafting a Jaguar, I prefer it to be Fournette. After that, the tight end pool obviously is a tragedy. After like the top, 10 or so, you really start to get it starts to get really ugly. So I like Safari and Jenkins with Bortles for sure. So big target. I think he's actually like 6'6". Like that dude is a monster.
Big red zone target. And we get to talking about tight ends. Like most tight ends outside of Gronk, Kelsey, and like Ertz, you're shooting for touchdowns. And there you go with Seals Jenkins. We saw it all last year and with the Jets. When he paid off, he'd have like 2 touchdown games because he'd catch 3 passes for 2 touchdowns. That's just what he would do. So, we'll get into that for sure. But it's going to be kind of that messy deal. 1 week it'll be one guy, one will be the other. I'm with you where I think Dede might have the overall best year, but there's going to be a lot of weeks where you're going to put him in your lineup and he's got like 3 points because you're just like, crap, it didn't work out so well. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions. It's kind of been up and down. Depends on where you looked all year. Some say Alshon Jeffrey is going to be ready to go. Some said no, he's not. Well, it's official now. He's going to be out for at least the first 2 weeks of the season. I guess hindsight is they're not putting him on the PUP list, so he might come back after 2 weeks. At the same time, he's still a mess, and that really elevates a guy like Nelson Aguilar up the list. But and you got Nick Foles quarterbacking because Carson Wentz can't even get it together yet. So how are you guys looking at the Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver situation with that news?
So I mean, I was drafting Aguilar anyway. Me
too.
That little like wide receiver 30-ish to 40, depending on where you look at ADP. I know you guys shouted out Jamison Crowder on a previous episode. I want to say 2 episodes ago.
I love Crowder.
That place is littered with guys like that are going to see time in the slot and have accurate quarterbacks like Alex Smith, who I love. So I was already drafting Aguilar and definitely am a Zach Ertz lover. So Alshon was somebody I was kind of staying away from. And we talk about this on the pod. I teach for a living, and I just started back teaching this week. So I'm not as up on every news tidbit over the last 4 or 5 days. So what's his latest malady with Jeffrey? What's his deal?
It's the same shoulder injury that's been bugging him all off season, and apparently it's not that close to being healed. Is what's coming down to.
So that almost like scares me more that it's the same thing that's been going on for a while, like that almost. if it were like something new that we could say was minor, I would be more inclined to feel okay. But Alshon wasn't really somebody I was jumping after. Anyway,
let's jump to Adam Thielen, who this one should be minor. He leaves with a leg injury. He walked off kind of on his own power. All reports where he's going to be fine. He's kind of been doing side drills for the most part. Are you thinking they're just playing it safe with him? Because, I haven't seen anything to be too worried about. But, you look at a guy that's got to be explosive out of the slot and everything, and you want those legs to be healthy, especially at the start of the season. They're never going to be healthy by the end of the year. But any concerns with a guy like Adam Thielen? Because that offense should be pretty dynamic this year.
There's the Diggs versus Thielen debate, and we all know Diggs just got paid. So I feel like if you're drafting them, you sort of you got to pick one. Like which one do you think is going to do it? And I'm in the Diggs camp. So this one for me is not a huge needle mover. I wasn't really going after Thielen anyway. He's another guy that if he drops, I'm down with it. But if I'm sitting there and they're both on the board, and most places I look, I think they're within like a pick or two. I'm clicking on Diggs on that one. So I do. I'm not. If you were into Thielen, I do agree. It sounds like it's minor. It's not something to be super worried about. But I'm a Diggs guy.
Yeah, and I like Diggs too. I'm a fan of you look at Brandon Cooks and guys like that. They pay a guy for a reason. That's always my theory. Like if they're paying you, they want you to get the darn football. And Thielen will have his weeks. We've seen it, but yeah, I'm with you there. Talk about a guy that wants to get paid, should get paid. And when Gurley got paid, Lev Bell had to have the biggest smile on his face ever. There were reports coming out that he's going to report after Labor Day. And then immediately he goes to Twitter. And Lev's got a sneaky good Twitter game. He goes on Twitter and he says, #fake news. I'm not reporting. I never said that, so on and so forth. Obviously after Labor Day, we're approaching week 1 of the NFL. How concerned are you? Because a lot of people throughout draft season, I'm not concerned. Lev Bell's Lev Bell. I'm still taking him towards the top. How concerned are you that he's actually going to say, screw it, you know what? I want to get paid. I'm not going to risk injury for a team that doesn't want to pay me.
I think as long as that thing has drawn on with Pittsburgh and him not getting paid like he feels like he should, and definitely like he has played, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if he digs his heels in. So he just, I'm not talking like character wise, but he just seems like a dude that is slightly more volatile than the average bear to me. Yeah. He has that, that little bit of history with getting in trouble. So I don't know. He's somebody like early in the draft anyway that what's up, dogs?
Yeah.
I just early on in the I'm so risk averse, especially in the early rounds, and just like me in my personality anyway, especially early on, I'm trying to avoid risk. So if I'm looking at him and Zeke, which, well, as soon as I said that sounds ludicrous. It's almost like there's landmines everywhere. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer. It would not surprise me a bit. It wouldn't surprise me a bit.
It's really tough because I was with the camp of people thinking, okay, eventually Lev's going to show up, and when he plays, they're going to run him into the ground because they're not going to pay him next year. But at the same time, he is that guy, like you said, that's got this kind of track record where he's going to be like, you know what, screw you. Like, I really don't care. I mean, he's either going to show up and say he's got a hamstring injury and he's going to sit there and get paid, or he's just going to screw it, I'm not coming. Either way, he's got the money to sit out a year. He's going to get paid a lot of money next year from somebody. So I can't blame him if he does it, because the way these guys get beat up, and a year of football is going to just tear down a running back's career. So it's going to be wild.
Well, and it's almost like he's setting the precedent almost. It seems like, and I'm not, I'm not an agent or anything like that, but this has drawn on for a few years now, and if like the devaluation of the running back thing continues to go, like who in their right mind that plays football would want to play running back? Like if you were shifty and fast and had good hands, like, coach, I'm playing wide receiver. Like who wants to go get beat up for 3 years and never get paid? Like it's almost like we're at the end of this now, where it's like we figured out that like most smart people think running back is replaceable. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we're watching it play out with Bell. You know, like
Yeah.
you got these two sides where yes, he's electric and phenomenal, but he's just a running back. Why would we pay him money? And a lot of smart people would agree with the Steelers, but
Well, that's the thing is you're right because what we've seen in this era is they are kind of right. Like you can go and draft 3 guys in next year's draft, and one of them might be good enough. Like to be the next Lev Bell's tough, obviously.
Yep.
But to get the guy that could pair with like James Conner, who you have sitting there, you could be just fine, just fine, and save a ton of money. And
or scope out Alfred Morris and look at what he's doing right now. Like
you know what's scary? He's going to have a role in that offense.
Definitely.
Yep. I told my Niner friends out here. I said when they picked him up, I gave them so much crap saying he's going to be the 1B to McKinnon. No, he's not. Well, yes, he is. He did it in Dallas last year just fine, and that's Shanahan's boy. So it's happening.
Yeah, he might be the 1A right now.
That's true.
I don't know, but there's so many examples of that where it's a retread or some guy you never heard of, and it a 3rd-round pick leading the league in rushing last year. So
it happens all the time. Remember, Arian Foster was an undrafted free agent.
Yep.
Like anything can happen.
Yeah, I feel like we're just watching that play out with Bell. So
it's crazy. Let's talk about another running back going to Green Bay with the Packers. Aaron Jones, he's always banged up. He's got a suspension coming. Jamal Williams is having a huge camp. Everyone's raving about him. Aaron Rodgers likes him. The coaching staff flat out came out and said he's playing amazing. I want to say we might have an answer because Ty Montgomery's hurt now too. This could be the thing in Green Bay, even though we haven't really seen a steady back in Green Bay in a while. But this could help, when running back dies off so quick in your draft and you're picking at straws. Is Jamal Williams a guy that's at least on the radar for you?
Yeah, I think he's on the radar 100%. I think that I probably missed the boat on Williams in my best ball leagues. He was just when it was a little bit more murky. He wasn't somebody I was really going after, but I think I do agree with the opinion that pass pro is important. And if Aaron Rodgers wants Jamal Williams to be the running back, Jamal Williams is going to be the running back. So I'm thinking that it might be too late right now. It may not be too late in my hometown league, so I can let him drop a little bit. But in the sharp leagues, I think I missed the boat a little bit on Williams. So I'm down with it. I like Jamal.
I'm with you there because, I missed the boat, but I got a couple more coming up that I'm going to try to get on that train, get a little piece of that high-powered offense there in Green Bay. Let's talk about the Washington Redskins. Chris Thompson, for a while during camp, no one thought he was going to be really healthy, and then the reports were, well, obviously he's not going to be 100%, but he will be eventually, so on and so forth. Well, he's looking a lot better now, and he might still take another week or two to get full Chris Thompson, but we know what he can do in a PPR league. And with the issues with P. Ryan and, you got Fat Rob there because Geis is out for the year, to me, I got to think you want to take a little bit more of a gamble on like a guy like Chris Thompson. What are you thinking? It's tough with the injury. You can disagree with me. It's totally fine.
I was laughing at it's the whole standard versus PPR thing. I don't like PPR.
You don't?
No, I don't like it. I'm angry at Yahoo for going to a default half PPR. Pianowski, if you're listening, dude, change it back. I don't. It's like we want points for breathing. We caught a ball. Like you catch a ball behind the line of scrimmage, you're still getting positive points. It doesn't make sense to me. But
I agree. I can agree with that.
So normally when it's like basically straight up receiving sort of a back, I kind of ignore them because mostly what I play is standard. I will say I think Alex Smith might be close to the leading rusher on that team.
That's a good point too.
He may be. I mean, I think there's a really strong likelihood he's second. But I did a dive on Smith a few weeks ago, and just like the dude's legs, I think are pretty underrated. I don't think people talk about it a whole lot.
Kirk Cousins ran a lot there last year.
Yeah, and I think I was looking every year through Alex Smith's career, and you could see like these oh crap moments where Jamal Charles got hurt, or who else were they banking on? It might have been JC getting hurt twice, but both years where they lost their starting running back, you just see this big jump. in his rushing attempts, and that's why I think Mahomes. I mean, I don't think they're going to be afraid to let Mahomes run this year, and I think that's part of his game. People don't talk about enough, but I could, as far as a runner in Washington, like I think Alex Smith is the best one. But if you're in PPR, by all means, yeah, draft Chris Thompson. But for me, as a standard guy, he just maybe it's bad. He's just not on my radar too much.
No, it makes total sense. Let's talk Will Fuller. This is a guy I can never even come near. He's like that allergic reaction. I don't even want to touch him. He's like poison ivy. Yet I see so many people flocking to him going, it's the third-year receiver narrative. It's Deshaun Jackson's healthy. All these narratives, I guess, that makes you sleep at night. I don't know. I don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong, and I will be off that train. And if he goes off, well, I'll have 0 shares. But what's your thoughts on Will Fuller? Because he's already hurt again.
I think it's the small sample thing where it's the same thing people are doing with Deshaun Watson. And in that sample last year with Watson, they were superb. And basically you're just asking yourself, like, is that the reality that you expect out of Houston, or are you chalking that up to, this? I think it was maybe a 6-game sample where everybody was healthy there, and I'm not buying the Watson thing. I love Watson. I'm a Carolina guy. I grew up in South Carolina, so Clemson was my jam. But it's the whole like being risk averse thing. So if I think that maybe there's a chance Watson's not going to make it through, I'm not really going to go out of my way to go after his target. And Fuller is right around that area where, like, I really love Jamison Crowder. Yeah. I like Aguilar. So I mean, if I'm not as worried about Alex Smith staying healthy, then I'm going to lean Crowder, who I ranked pretty aggressively. So Fuller, I mean, it's also like you're in that mess of like nobody really knows. Like you're just kind of taking your shot on who you think is going to explode. And I like a little bit more safety there, even still in like the 6, 7, 8 kind of round. I feel like football's so variable. Like I can take shots later in the draft, and that's just kind of how I do it. And it's pretty boring. I know it's boring, but I like safety for like as long as I can do it. And then when I feel like there's not really any more, I'm like taking crazy shots.
No, there's a lot to be said about. That's how I like the draft. I like that really good floor with upside early. Make sure my starting roster is going to have like, the potential to get 10 plus points from each guy. Then I'll go get those long shots later that you can always drop if things go wrong. Like go give me go try your Keelan Cole or your D.D. Westbrook later. They might have just as much upside as Will Fuller come season's end. Like literally, someone take a note at this point in the podcast and let me know at the end of the year what the point difference is between those guys and Will Fuller, because I would not be shocked if one of them outscores Will Fuller this year. I'm not even kidding. But there's a lot of things like that. Let's talk about this next guy. You could get him around the Will Fuller time in your drafts. Josh Gordon is back. He has a mild hamstring injury, but everyone says he's fine. He's not starting week 1, but he's playing in week 1. He's going to be a starter once they do all the they're doing the right things, saying he's got to earn his role and all those things. I get it. He's going to be the starter in Cleveland. It's very simple. He's electric. How are you approaching a guy like Josh Gordon? Because I've already drafted 3 leagues and I have 2 shares, and I might just be overexcited about him, but I know how electric he can be. At the same time, I know how he can kill your team when things go wrong.
Yeah, I think we're similar. I'm not in my day job. I said I was in education. I'm a middle school counselor. So I do quite a bit of talking and listening for a living. Rooting for people that have been through things that are tough is just part of how I'm wired, and it's definitely a part of what I do. So for a guy like Gordon, I can't help but insert a little bit of that. I mean, his off season reads like he is trying to do everything that he can. Him staying away can definitely, and we don't know anything because I don't live near him. I'm not in his camp, but it could very well be him staying away, taking care of himself, being dedicated, and physically, he has the tools, and Tyrod can throw the ball deep, and I love Gordon. I the wide receiver picture gets murky so fast anyway, and it is deep. Wide receiver is deep, but it's still, soon, very quickly, you're like, well, is it Diggs or Thielen, or is Doug Baldwin healthy, or is Gordon going to be on the field all year? There's almost like immediate questions that almost like every position. There's immediate questions except for quarterback, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm like, at that point, I'm going to pick who I want to root for, especially if it's a hometown league or even if it's a serious league, quotation marks, if all things are equal, I'm going to probably chase upside around where he's going and pick the guy that I want to root for. So he's an easy guy to root for me.
No, and I'm with you.
I'm hoping that he comes back.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that. He like you said, everything that you're reading, you're seeing, he's still very, very young. Young people, justify it or not, whatever your stand is on it, make dumb mistakes. Like, it happens. And he has physically shown he is sorry about it. And he's trying to do everything he can to make it right. And you have to at least give him the benefit of the doubt on this and root it on, like you're saying. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. Maybe that's part of the reason why I took a gamble on him instead of someone else, because, hey, I want to see that story play out on my team. And because, like we both agree on, he is that electric. If he is keeping clean and he is staying focused and he is on the field, because, yes, Tyrod will throw deep balls all day long. And half the time with Gordon, he can give him a slant and he'll take it to the house because he's so dang fast. Like, there's so much to be said about this. I think he's a great story. And I just wanted to basically bring him up because some people are already saying he's already got a hamstring injury. He's always hurt. And I just want to be like, hey, guys, I think a lot of this is he's just getting back into playing shape with these guys. They're going through the motions because the Browns are also trying to keep everything kind of even keel and let him kind of get back into it and everything and not overwhelm him with the spotlight everywhere and stuff. There's a lot to be said because he does seem like he might be a fragile individual that just needs a little more help. Heck, my mom used to work for the Kings back in the day. They had Ron Artest. The Kings literally paid 4 people to babysit him all day long because some of these guys just can't keep it together. It's that simple. So you never know. It's crazy. Last piece of news real quick. Kenyon Drake. This guy is very, very good. You live in the Southeast, so you know a little bit about Alabama. They're close enough to you. He was good there, and he was very good for the Dolphins at season's end. Now, it was like Gore comes to town. It's going to be 50-50, all this. And Adam Gase finally came out and said, I want like 20 carries a game. I want 5 to 6 catches. And that just brought music to my ears because I think this guy's so darn good. He's their best running back. Are you believing Gase? Is he moving up your board this way? Or what are you looking at Kenyon Drake?
He's a dude that, like, if I'm ranking, I'm probably taking the cowardly way out and putting him right at his ADP, or right at his expert consensus. But so much of it is going to be, if we're talking snake draft, it's going to be based on what my draft slot is, and if I'm looking for a running back around that juncture. I don't have anything against Drake. He's a guy I picked up last year, and he kind of carried me whenever Kareem Hunt did his disappearing routine last year. So if I'm looking at like the young running back versus the very old running back, and do I believe that the young guy is going to get way more carries? Absolutely. So I'm totally fine taking Drake and having him be either a second running back or oh crap, I had to spend up and go 2 wideouts and a tight end or whatever, and he's your first running back. But I'm good with Drake.
Yeah, I like him a lot, and it was kind of more just making me feel better about life when I hear stuff like that. Because some coach speak is just coach speak, but some
when you marry like Gore, I mean, I don't even know how old he is. I know it's a joke now, but
it's crazy.
I mean, there'd be no reason for a team to feed Frank Gore like it.
Unless you're Indianapolis Colts. All right, that'll wrap us up for the player news this week. Let's talk tight ends. Like you said, it's tight end week over at Fake Teams. I know you've covered tight ends for the last year or so, so you have a little bit of a current knowledge on these guys, and that's why I wanted to bring you on here. And we're going to go over Fantasy Pros ADP. We got the top 12, and then we're going to talk about some other long shots here. It's not the sexiest position by any means. You have the top heaviness, and then you can kind of wait if you so choose. Before we even get into the players, how do you approach tight ends in your leagues?
The big 3, and then peace out.
Yeah, I feel you.
And it's a little deeper than that. I like Trey Burton quite a bit, and I put up today, actually. I wrote it a little while ago, secret, but I posted about Kyle Rudolph today. I was sitting on him for tight end week. So after Burton, I like Rudolph, but it really like the big three. If you're looking at a points per game basis, those three guys were head and shoulders above everybody else last year, and the only change, and maybe where I don't know if it's a hot take, I haven't seen too many people, but I don't know if I'm the only one that's a little skittish with Travis Kelce. I still haven't been in the top three. I have him third behind Ertz, and for me it's Mahomes has played one game, and with Andy Reid last year, that cold spell where like, okay, I suck at play calling, let me hand it over to my offensive coordinator. I mean, just thinking that like the ship is going to just automatically run smoothly again just makes me kind of slightly pause. And it's that whole like being risk averse thing in the early rounds. So if I feel like he and Ertz are kind of splitting hairs and Ertz has that round or round and a half later ADP, obviously the first choice is Gronk. If I can get Gronk in round 2, I'm doing that. Like I'm almost like not even thinking about it.
So, you're a Gronk all the time. If he's there, you're going.
I'm Gronk all the way in round 2. Like unless it's a weird format or something. But if you're talking like typical standard league, like if I can get Gronk in round 2, I'm totally fine with that. But if I'm choosing then in round 3, I would rather take another skill player and then get Ertz in 4. And that's
what's your concerns on Kelce? Because right now everybody it goes Gronk, Kelce, Ertz right now. Like he's saying, Gronk's in the second round, Kelce's going around the third, and Ertz is going around round 4 for the most part. And you're skipping Kelce. Is it because of the Mahomes things like you're saying, or is there something else?
So of all the tight end ones last year, and I would assume of all tight ends, because if you had over 122 targets, you should be in the top 12. But I spent some time and looked at the tight end ones for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So Kelce was number 1 in targets last year among tight ends. He had 122. And when you just look at what they're doing and bringing in Sammy Watkins, and the defense is worse and aging, and most people expect them to not be very good. So, the running attempts there could be lower than any other year during Reid's tenure. Like they could have to throw a lot more, but they also have more viable weaponry. And Spencer Ware is a very underrated dude, even as a receiver. So even if Hunt is not on the field, if it's Ware, like both of those running backs can catch passes, and you brought in Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill is still there, like it just wouldn't surprise me if like Kelce is not leading tight ends in targets next year. So I feel like you're paying for that. I think you're paying for a guy that's going to get a monstrous target load. And, instead of being at 120, if he's down at 105, I mean, I don't know. Plus the rookie QB, basically, because he's only had a game. I don't know. It's just his ADP is like, it's almost in some spaces Gronk will go and then people automatically take Kelce, and I don't think it's that close with those two. I think it's Gronk all by himself, and then we wait, and then go for Kelce and Ertz are much closer together. I don't see the targets where they were last year. I'm just a little nervous in general with Chiefs guys.
No, that makes sense. I get it. New quarterback, more weapons. Makes a lot of sense. It's tough to keep that workload in play. Let's talk about Jimmy Graham going to New England or to Green Bay, and you have Aaron Rodgers, who's been raving about him in Green Bay and talking about how big he is and the ability is. And he's playing out of the slot and telling everybody he's more athletic than people give him credit for. And are you buying any of this?
No, I'm not. No, just say no. That's funny. No, and like he and Evan Ingram last year were the only 2 tight end ones. So your top 12 tight ends in standard leagues, they were the only 2 that had a catch rate below 60%. I mean, and so Ingram made it on target volume. He was the number 2 tight end in overall targets last year behind Kelce. So he's another guy that I'm because same thing in New York where you drafted Saquon, Shepard's healthy, Odell's healthy. So I don't expect Ingram to get the volume either. So Ingram made it on overall targets. Graham made it on red zone looks because he was number one in the NFL in red zone looks. So you can, if you think that he's going to lead the NFL in red zone looks this year, and his quarterback is Aaron Rodgers, then by all means, pay for that. I just think that I can wait and do a Trey Burton, who I think has upside, or wait and do a Kyle Rudolph, who I think also as a red zone guy, as a red zone dude, is like, I think there's a chance Rudolph is Jimmy Graham light with way more yardage this year. And
I completely agree with that thought.
So just like his age and major surgeries, and the fact that like you're basically just banking on touchdowns, like you're not, because he may have games where he catches 2, but I don't expect his yardage totals to be very high. And I do a lot of I don't know if this is weird. I like to play a lot of head to head, and in head to head, what keeps you afloat is yardage. So, I mean, obviously you like guys that can give you both, but I'm kind of out. I'm not kind of out. Like, I'm definitely out on Graham. I think I ranked him tight end 9.
Oh wow, big stand. I don't disagree with it. That's just a big stand. You haven't seen that in a lot of places at all. Let's talk Greg Olsen. He was banged up a lot last year. Got a deal to come back with the Panthers. He's got a rapport with Newton. They like each other quite a bit. But there's DJ Moore, and everyone's going to give CMC his touches and whatnot. How are you looking at a guy like Greg Olsen? Because to me, I want nothing to do with him. Like you said, I want the top 3, or I go to Rudolphs and Burtons of the world. It seems like Olsen's kind of gets overlooked in the whole scheme of the tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, like, I'm trying to think about how I would view him if he had not gotten injured last year. Like, how would I view Olsen if he were healthy all last year, healthy coming into this year, and then Cam has all these weapons all of a sudden. And I do think I'd still be skittish like I am right now. And some of that is I'm not going to like flat out agree with Kelvin Benjamin, but Cam's not the most accurate quarterback. I agree. We love Cam because he can run. But it's just, I guess I think about it like from a team perspective, like what does the team need in order to accomplish what they need to do? And in Carolina, they can go. I mean, Moore, Funchess, Olsen. Obviously, I said it. McCaffrey. I'm all in on McCaffrey. I mean, Samuel, nobody's talking about that. There's some draft capital in Samuel, and he kind of flashed. I think it might have been preseason in the 3rd game. He's a dude that people are kind of writing off. I mean,
he had some games towards the end of last year when they were kind of banged up. He showed up.
Newton just there's so many ways he can go, and Olsen coming off the injury and his age. I mean, once we're past the top 3, I'm basically waiting, and that's just. I'm not doing Olsen. I'm not doing Jimmy Graham. There's Evan Ingram. I'll kind of pause, honestly, even though I just kind of slided in with his catch rate last year. I mean, he was used in the slot a ton in college. It was like some crazy number. It was like 73% of the time Ingram was in the slot in college. And if they move him into the slot more, obviously I think the catch rate's going up. But you're still talking about I think they want to run the ball and play defense, and I don't think they want to lean on Eli's arm. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
I mean, for what reason do they have to just fling it all over the yard if they can successfully run the ball with Saquon and play defense and feature Odell? I mean, you're talking Ingram. At best he's the 2nd weapon in that offense, and at least in the passing game. And He might be number 1 in the red zone. I don't know, but but if you're just chasing touchdowns, I feel like you can do that in tons of places at tight end.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all breaks out because talent's there, but he did a lot of that last year with a lot of injuries out there, like you said. So you got Delaney Walker in Tennessee. He's kind of banged up playing through injuries. I honestly don't really want to talk too much about Delaney Walker because he's just kind of like that guy. He's a guy to me. But I do want to get to the next couple. You got Kyle Rudolph, you've mentioned, Jordan Reed, and Trey Burton. Trey BwB, as some people like to call him, is on everyone's radar right now, and for good reasons. I'll let you talk about him. But Kyle Rudolph, I love the Jimmy Graham comparison. We already know how Cousins likes his tight end. We've seen how Rudolph has played well when given the opportunity, and you're getting him super late, like way late. This is Fantasy Pros ADPs. To me, I've been in most drafts where Rudolph goes after a lot of these guys, and you're getting him much later. And then some people are jumping back on Jordan Reed. So how do you look at those kind of three right there? Because I think if you wait on tight end, this is kind of a wheelhouse you can kind of attack.
Yeah, I mean, so if I miss the big three, the guy that I'm looking for next is Burton. And in most places where it's, at least I think it's a competitive room, I think he's basically a round 7 guy if I want to make sure I get Trey Burton. And he's the same deal that you said about the money. Like they paid him. It looks like they are going to feature him, and like he's their version of Travis Kelce. I'm totally buying the narrative that the Chiefs offensive coordinator is now the head coach and they love the tight end. And it like, I just think Trey Burton is going to go nuts. So, or at least like if I'm looking after the top 3, who has a chance to go nuts, it's Trey Burton. So and if I take a dart on him in round 7 and he doesn't pan out, like I can stream. Like that's the deal with tight end. Like tight end is a tragedy after like the top 10. And if it doesn't work out with the upside play like Burton, I can stream. And it is what it is. So obviously you don't want to throw away a pick in the middle, but I'm playing it that way. And it probably sounds ageist, and I'm not, I promise, but I'm not in on Olsen, Delaney. He'll be kind of solid, but I do think he's got some positive touchdown regression coming. He only caught 3 last year, but he's still like, it's the same deal in Tennessee. Like there's a lot of weapons in Tennessee, and like Deion Lewis is going to catch 50 balls, and there's no need to throw to Delaney Walker 100 times. They're just not. Like
he's not going to be that emergency valve. Deion Lewis will be the emergency valve.
Yep. So I'm kind of out on the Olsen, Delaney, Graham like grouping in the middle. Ingram is the only one I kind of like. It kind of scares me to just do a strong fade, like because he is young and he is a great athlete. And if they do move him in the slot, he can be more efficient and he could crush it in the red zone. But I still, with so many weapons in New York and drafting Saquon, like they're going to pound it, man. And then they're going to feature Odell. So I'd rather I'd wait and get Burton. And if that doesn't work, I'll grab Rudolph. And on him, like he does drop quite a bit, but if you're in a sharp room, I think you probably need to grab him in round 8 from what I have seen.
No, definitely. The next couple guys we have on here before we go to kind of some deep guys you might like. Jack Doyle, people remembered how good he was when Luck was there. He's kind of a late option if you want to. And then the flashy name, if it's because of Hard Knocks or not, I know a lot of people liked him last year. Between him and Seth Devala was a mess, but David Njoku, he is a physical specimen. He is a beast, and he is like, besides the way he wears his shirt on Hard Knocks and just whatever, I could never do that. But the way he just plays, like he's been tearing it up in the preseason, and we know the talent's there. Those two guys late could be options. How do you look at a Doyle and Njoku?
I've got them like neck and neck. Njoku is the upside play. I've got him 10th, and I've got Doyle 1 spot behind him at 11, who I view as the safe play. And we didn't mention Luck, but his injury sounds minor, so I'm not gonna.
I just screwed it.
Yeah. Well, just to like weave it in, like it. Yeah. So as long as that's minor, I'm still feeling pretty good about Doyle. I've been taking some heat in the fake team Slack, so I need to share this with them when I'm done. They're all over me about Ebron because I put him 13th, and again, this is a guy they brought in. Yep. He's young, he's athletic. Andrew Luck has had a history of being able to support, 2 tight ends. Dwayne Allen was like a touchdown or bust kind of guy, but I think Ebron is more than that, especially if you look at the rest of the receiving core. So if you're not going to buy into Chester Rogers, which he's a guy that seems pretty polarizing. Some people are like, this guy is going to explode. Other people are like, there's no way this guy. So just if I'm looking at the Colts in general, like, man, I think, Ebron is gonna do some eating at certain points this year. So, and tight end is a tragedy. I keep saying it. like I would love to take a guy that's wed to Andrew Luck, and Ebron. I don't know where he's at with ECR on Fantasy Pros, but he's buried.
Yeah, he's way down there. I don't even have it up right now. He's a ways down there.
But I'd assume he's below Howard, which that situation to me seems very similar, except the Bucks have more people to throw to. The Colts have less people to throw to, and the Colts have a better quarterback as long as he's healthy. So, I mean, people are like, let's buy all the upside with O.J. Howard, but let's completely ignore it with Eric Ebron. And I get it, like his hands look like stone sometimes, but like unless you're going to get penalized for drops, you don't really care about that if he's still catching touchdowns. So I like Ebron, but I've been taking lots of heat on it over at Fake Teams. So how do you feel about Ebron?
I don't mind it as a late, like especially if you're streaming or you need help late in the draft. I don't hate it at all. I've been one of those guys on our weekly DFS show I do. I was always an Ebron value guy week in and week out because the talent has always been there. Like he's always there. He's a red zone threat. We've said it how many times on this podcast about tight ends is outside of the big guys, you're praying for touchdowns pretty much. And that is what Ebron does. You might not see him in between the 20s the entire game, but when you get in the red zone and now the new stat inside the 10 zone, the green zone, whatever the heck they're calling it now, he's a great target down there. If he could just, like you said, turn his hands of stones into hands of, I guess leather or rich mahogany or something that could catch a football, that would be ideal because the talent's there. So I don't hate it at all. I see exactly where you're coming from. I also see where many people that just have been burned by him for so long, it's like the scorned lover, want to just be like, nope, you're crazy. This isn't happening anymore. Because you remember how it was a couple of years back. People were taking him like tight end 8 and above because they thought, okay, he's in this high-powered Lions offense, and that's where you kind of made a mistake.
Anquan Bolden got all those red zone targets and like crushed my soul. So, he just that was it. And Bolden delayed that breakout quotation marks for a year.
So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all. And in a team with so many so few weapons, you could still have Ebron line up on the line to block and then peel off, and you could have Doyle like in the slot. Like you could utilize these guys tremendously because they're also, people might not remember, they're going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets because Luck missed an entire season of football. They want him staying upright. They're going to want as many blockers on that line as possible, which allows for more opportunities for things. So I see exactly where you're coming from, basically.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't know, maybe my 13 was, I ranked him 13. Maybe it felt like that was.
But honestly, I don't.
It wouldn't surprise me if he has 2 top 12 tight ends.
No doubt.
If the Colts have both guys finish inside the top 12, and mainly that's just a big indictment of tight end in general.
No doubt. And I don't do a lot of football rankings. I do baseball rankings, and maybe in another year or so I'll start doing football rankings too. We'll see. But like when I do baseball rankings, after you get out of the wide receiver 1, or you say, first base 1s or whatever. Yeah, go take your chances. Go plant your flag on a guy that, has the upside that, you're not telling everybody, okay, you have to run and take this guy, which you're not doing by any means. But at the same time, it's like, hey, I punted tight end. I was shooting for Burton or Rudolph. He got snaked. I'm going to go gamble on a Jamison Crowder instead, and stuff's falling, and I still need a tight end. Okay, well, you got Ebron. You got ASJ. You got stuff like that sitting there. Zero problem with that at all. Zero. It's just how the draft falls to you.
Well, and at that point, and if you're playing the stream game in general, I mean, one of my rules, quotation marks, is like if I'm 50-50 on this guy versus this guy, like I'm always going to look at the quarterback. I mean, obviously, you look at the matchup, and if you're playing against the Giants, you pick the tight end playing against the Giants unless BJ Goodson shows me he's going to shut it down. But until we see it, you stream against the Giants. So the matchup matters. But after that, I mean, I'm looking at the quarterback, like, who's throwing the football, because I think that matters. The quality of the target definitely matters. So if I'm looking at Ebron versus Howard, like Howard's got 3 games of Fitzpatrick, and then, Winston's whatever he's got going on inside his head. So I like Ebron, but I'm taking some. I never thought I was gonna enter into this year and be an Ebron truther, but apparently it's here. So
it happens. Are there any other long shots you're kind of looking at? Not long shots, but later guys that aren't really on the radar that you'd be okay maybe taking a chance on, or after you draft putting on your kind of watch list for streaming and whatnot?
I think the Hurst injury is a nice smokescreen. given how much the Ravens have utilized its tight end in the past, even with Flacco's deficiencies, which are very obvious right now. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Jackson is starting, and if Hurst only misses 2 games, then he's going to maybe kind of work his way back into game shape. I mean, the injury is a obviously it sucks. You want a guy to stay healthy, but I'm definitely looking at Hurst for when he's healthy. I mean, I think he's polished, he's mature, and he's in a spot with a team that doesn't have a lot of receiving talent, and that team loves to feature the tight end. So I'm gonna keep eyeballing Hayden Hurst, and I've done a I guess we call it a keeper. We've kind of this league I'm in. We've kept a different number every year. We've had 10 teams for probably 5 years since we started. This year we're adding 2 teams. I had a friend that wanted to get in, and so I needed another one. So I asked the wife, and the wife always she'll do like 1 league per year, and I'm like, hey, instead of doing this one where you have to like pick your team every year, you can just do this one where you pick your guys, and then they're your guys for forever. So she's going to take over my team that's already in existence, and I'm going to take over the expansion. So I'm going to be drafting very deep because I'm starting out with no players. So dudes like Hurst that are young, I'm really excited about that draft. But I know that's not the question. But I like Hurst. I like Hurst in Baltimore for sure.
I got 2 more guys. I'm just curious on your take since you've been kind of digging in a little more. What's your thoughts on rookie Mike Gesicki, and in Miami, and then in Arizona, Ricky Seals-Jones?
I mean, in those 2, if it's between those 2, I'm definitely going Seals-Jones. Sam Bradford loves the tight end. Like that's not. I don't think that's an exaggeration. When I was digging into Kyle Rudolph, the year Bradford was in Minnesota, I believe it was 2016. Rudolph's target share was nuts. I mean, it was like last year he was a shade under 15%, but when Bradford was there, it was like 23. I mean, it was something like Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis combined in Washington 2 years ago. Whenever Jordan Reed was actually healthy, those 2 combined were right around 23 or 24. But Sam Bradford loves a tight end, so I think Seals-Jones is a nice play. If you think Sammy B is going to hold on to that job for a while, like we all know he's pretty accurate. So I like Seals-Jones a bunch. If I'm looking for a late guy, I definitely like him a bunch. Gesicki, am I saying his name correctly?
I think so.
I'm kind of on him.
Yeah.
And some of that's a Tannehill thing, and I think he's just a kind of a solid, average, solid guy with some legs. That's his dimension that Bradford can't offer. But I'm just not super into Miami this year, and I know maybe you heard that when we were talking about Drake. So some of that's the rookie tight end bias too. I know I just talked about Hurst, and now I'm going to say don't take a rookie tight end, but Hurst is a little bit of an anomaly there because he's 25, and there's some more maturity and there's more polish. So I'm not super into the Miami guy.
No worries. Well, I think that's a deep enough dive in the tight end position for now. Obviously, if you guys need more information, go check out the fake teams and everything they got going on over there. Why don't you plug what you guys got going on over there and your Twitter handle one more time?
Well, over there, we're like you, where we're not. I don't think we're diving too much into kicker or defense coverage because that would be, change your league settings and then the coverage is over. So tight end week is wrapping up. I assume that next week will be bold prediction week at fake teams. That's kind of historically how we've handled that. And then at Twitter, I'm boring. It's at Heath Caps.
Oh, he's not boring though, people. Trust me. As you can already tell, super knowledgeable, and he'll talk to you about anything if you approach it the right way. So go check him out on Twitter at Heath Caps and all his work over there at Fake Teams. And Heath, it was a pleasure having you on, and we will do this again, whether you like to or not. We will do this again because it was a very good time.
Let's make sure you don't lose listeners first, and then we'll go from there. So I don't care if you gain any. You don't have to gain any, but if you lose quite a few, and you don't ask me back, I'm not offended.
Well, we'll approach that road when we do, but it's all good, and I appreciate you joining me tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. No problem. Everybody, this is Bench with Bubba, episode 118 with Heath Caps of the Fake Teams, talking fantasy tight ends and much, much more. Catch you guys next time.